Hi, this is Misty at LoveThatShot.com. In this video, I'm going to show you how to get creative with photo textures inside of Elements 11. We're going to have so much fun, so let's get started. The first thing that I need to do is open my photo, so I'll click on it, drag it over, and drop it onto the editing software. The first thing that I like to do when I'm working with a vintage style photograph like this one is to use a desaturation technique. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and minimize my action palette. Then click on my layers palette over in the right hand side, and I want to apply the hue saturation adjustment layer. Now I want to take the saturation all the way down to -100. Then I can close this out. I want to decrease the opacity to 48%. Now it's already starting to get the vintage vibe that I'm looking for, but I want to go ahead and add in some more of the color back in. So I'm going to duplicate this background layer by clicking Ctrl J on my keyboard. Then I need to move it above the hue saturation layer. Then I want to apply a soft light blending mode. And see how it just adds in some of that color back in? That's exactly the look that I'm wanting. So now I'm ready to add my first texture. So we'll open up the Actions palette, and if you don't see all of the textures inside of the Texture Infusion Action folder, all you need to do is click this arrow next to the folder and they'll pop right down for you. So the first action that I need to run is Texture Infusion. So I'll go ahead and play that. And I want to add the Kupu Kupu texture from the Kalani collection, so I'll select it and hit place. And then I'll just go ahead and resize the photo or the texture over my photo and double click. Now I'm going to change the blending mode on this to hard light and then decrease the opacity to about 55. Now I want to mask out some of the texture over the girl so it's not so green. So I'm going to make sure that the layer mask on the texture layer is selected. Make sure that the black is showing. If it's not, just go ahead and click X on your keyboard and that'll switch from white to black. And then I'm going to make sure that my brush is selected, and I want to use a soft round brush, pretty large. I'll take it down just a little bit, and then I'm going to have the opacity down at around 50%. Then I can just go ahead and start painting over. If I want to make the brush a little smaller as I'm going, a little trick is to press the left bracket key on your keyboard, and that'll just make it nice and small for you so you can work as you go. To make it larger, just click the right bracket key. And there we go. Now we're ready for some smoothing over the skin. So I'm going to open my Actions palette, click the smoothing action, and click play. Now I'm going to hit X on my keyboard to make the white color show up. And then I'm just going to go ahead and start painting over the girl where I don't want any texture to show through. Now I'm ready to add my next texture, so I'll click Texture Infusion and hit play. And I want to add the Kiki texture from the Kalani collection. And I'll resize that over my photo and double click. I also want to change this blending mode to hard light and decrease the opacity to about 63. Now it's looking just a little bit rough, but bear with me, it's going to look a lot better here pretty soon. I'm ready to add my next texture, so I'll run my Texture Infusion action again and select Honey from the Kalani collection and place. Then I'll resize it over my photo and double click. I want to leave this one in soft light, but decrease the opacity to about 75%. And then I definitely want to smooth over the skin. So I'll select the smoothing action and run play. and then make sure that the white is showing, and I'll make my brush just a little bit bigger and start painting over these areas. You might notice that on really dark and strong textures, the smoothing doesn't want to run very well, but I have a trick that I'm going to show you here in just a second. So now I want to minimize my action palette and move it out of the way, and I want to select all of my layers. To do that, I click on the top layer, hold down Shift, and click on the bottom layer, then right click, duplicate layers, and then right click, merge layers. Now I want to move this layer that we just made over the top of the Kiki texture that we added before, and then I want to link it to that texture. So I'll press Alt on my keyboard and then hover in between the two layers and click. Now I want to create kind of a nice blur, but also a foggy, misty type of feeling. So I'm going to go up to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and then I'll just slide this up until I get the effect that I'm going after. And I think that's just about right, so I'll click OK. Now I want to bring back in some of the texture in the outer edges. So I'm going to create a layer mask, make sure that the black is showing, increase the size of my brush, and then start painting. And you'll see some of the texture begin to come back in. If I turn that off, you can see the difference. And that's it. Here's the before and the after. I hope this video has inspired you to get creative with your own photography.